twisted. One voice cuts through the noise, hard-hitting, controversial. But rooted in common sense, faith and values first. The Friday verdict. The Friday verdict. Old conversations, kingdom impact.
All right. It's your Friday Verdict host, Keith Weissong. Thank you for tuning in on this July the 2nd or 3rd, right? The day before the 4th of July, when we celebrate our 250th year as a nation, the greatest nation this world has ever known. Even though we've got a bunch of wackadoodles in the Supreme Court, we got a bunch of wackadoodles out throughout Congress and the Senate. We got wackadoodles everywhere, but we're still the greatest nation in the world, and in God we trust. Amen. Well, that's not what we're talking about today, though. Today, we're going to talk about the Tony Spell altercation. I think all of us have seen the video. If you haven't seen the video, I'm not sure what rock you've been living under. But we're going to talk about that verdict, kind of give you some insight and some information that maybe you're not privy to, and a lot of it's public knowledge that you can gain and get. But just kind of lay the groundwork and the framework for and let you decide who's guilty and who's innocent on this Friday verdict today and this week. So before we do, I want to thank one of my sponsors, Elite Auto Care out of Union City, Tennessee. If you need any work done on your car whatsoever, the engine, you got tires you need, whatever it may be. If you've got some work that needs done under that hood of that car, you need to reach out to Chris Robertson. He's the owner. He's been in the industry for over 30 years and does a great job. Good man with integrity, good heart. And so you can reach out to him. Let him know that the Friday verdict sent you, and he will take care of you. And that's in Union City, Tennessee, the Elite Auto Care. And I'm sure you will not be disappointed. All right. Well, today's episode, again, we're going to talk about the Tony Spell situation there, the altercation that took place with Luke Sherwin, the 20-year-old young man, the son of Scott Sherwin, that lived there in Louisiana, in a hot country, and very hot. That's why there was a, police called on Tony Spell from that family, allegedly the son, but called because, Pastor Spell got up and was mowing the grass about 5 a.m., when it was 80 some degrees, rather than waiting until it's 95, 100. And they called the police. It was too early. And I understand some people want to sleep, but listen, I get it. I want to mow my grass. Now, we got a 4-lane highway. I think sometimes probably the traffic there is probably louder than that lawn machine that's across for, I just think sometimes we're just looking for a reason to complain. We're looking for a reason to make a complaint, just showing agitation. So, anyway, I think we all have seen the video, and it really started this back and forth, and the complaints that's been made, and all started back in around 2020 during the COVID, during the lockdown that the country was placed upon because of the evil Dr. Fauci and all of his nefarious actions that brought this to America to influence an election. And you can disagree with me on that all you want, but anybody in their right mind understands there was election interference that was perpetrated I believe, on the American people to influence an election, as well as they're, trying to see, hey, how much it's trial run. Can we take away people's religious liberties, their religious rights, that freedom of religion? Can we do that? Let's see how far people will let us go. Let's see how far we can tell them you can't go and have mass gatherings in your church, but you can go to a bar. Can't go to church, but you go to a bar. So Tony Spell wasn't going to stand for that. He wasn't going to allow certain people, I'm just going to leave it that way, wasn't going to allow and lose his religious rights and lose the religious freedom that he has and that his church enjoys by living in America, by being told they couldn't congregate. And so they just continue to have church throughout COVID. And I think he was arrested. He was arrested multiple times because he was violating the ordinance and violating the restriction that was placed upon him in the church. And I know some people say, oh, that's a little reckless during that time. Well, there was a lot of us that really believed that whole thing was a farce. And we saw it for what it was. I think we're now seeing that those of us that took that side were being vindicated because of the reports coming out and all with Dr. Fauci and what he did. And listen, I'm not saying COVID didn't take lives. It was just like a really bad flu season, is really what it was like. It wasn't the millions and millions and millions and half the population of the world was going to be eliminated. And that was kind of the fear that they had placed on us. That's where we walked around in fear, not knowing. But once we started seeing everything, then people began to take a different look. But Tony Spell was of that belief that this was that we were having our religious liberties taken, our religious rights, our freedom of religion that Constitution gives us. And so he was arrested. Well, Luke Sherwin didn't like the church anyway. Let's just be honest. Didn't like church. His dad, Scott, didn't, I guess, care for the church. Didn't like the fact that they were meeting. Listen, here's my thoughts on that. I'm a grown adult. And if I want to go to a building where other grown adults are that feel that it's okay, we're going to meet here. We're not going to be living in fear and waiting to die. Afraid to be a hermit because the government has told us that we have to be a hermit. Tony Spell wasn't going to live that way. His church wasn't going to live that way. They were going to have church. They have that. That's a constitutional right that cannot be infringed upon. But we have a lot of people in this country that do not believe, nor do they follow the Constitution of the United States of America. And we are in a constitutional crisis even today as I speak. Birthright citizenship, again, a different topic. We'll tackle that someday. But we are in a constitutional crisis. There are so many people trying to take away our freedoms. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the two bedrocks of our society. They're trying to take away from us so that we can be controlled. And all of this is all about control. It's always been about control. Power. It is. And that's what Tony Spell was not going to allow happen. He was not going to give up his rights and his freedoms so others could be in control and in power, and the Sherwins did not like it. Now, you can look at the police reports. The police say there's only been 6 police reports, official police reports filed against the Sherwins in the last 4 years. That's what they recognize. Tony Spell and his congregation said there's been multiple reports. I don't know if the police is only saying what the Spells reported, maybe not what some of the other members report. I don't know. I don't know those facts or have all that information. I do know on the police report there's 6 official police filings against the Spells. Luke, most notably for vulgarities, hand gestures, just certain threats, racial slurs. You see, Life Tabernacle Church, where Tony Spell pastors there in Louisiana, they have 27 different nationalities that attend that church. So they have different races and cultures that attend the church. And allegedly, from that congregation, not just Tony Spell, if you don't like him, some of the people, many of the people, had his back and stood up in his defense saying, hey, we have taken and had to listen to racial slurs and comments about us and to us in front of our little ones for years. He'll stand up there and yell racial vulgarities. He'll stand out there and scream and make grabbing his crotch, flipping the middle finger as people went into church. Now, that's all been alleged, all right? But it's been alleged by multiple sources. Multiple people have alleged that it's in the church. Now, either Luke is telling the truth or everybody else is telling the truth. I don't know. You're going to have to do your final, the Friday verdict, and you decide who's guilty and who's innocent here in a few minutes. But there has been 6 police filings, police reports made official that Luke was threatening. He was yelling, screaming vulgarities, and even Shay, the pastor's wife, filed a police report that Luke was following her in a car. And as he followed her in the car, he was yelling obscenities, making obscene gestures. We know what that is. Flipped her off, harassing her. He was so close to her and so fast that he almost caused a crash when he was following or stalking her. But he was there. He was following her around. She left the house. He was following her. He was stalking her. She reported it. The police investigated but found insufficient evidence for the charges. I'm not sure how you get all that information, but they did. The police did warn the Sherwins about having contact with Shay. Stay away from her. Stay away. That's what the police told them. Stay away. Stay your distance. Leave her alone. Okay, she filed a police report. He's following her around. He scared her, and she made it, but they said they couldn't find, sufficient evidence enough. I'm not sure how that plays out. Not sure how that happens, but that's another police report that was made from Shay where she was scared. All right, so you have these obscenities, these gestures, these yelling and screaming vulgarities, threats made to the church people, racial slurs made to church people for 6 years. That's been going on. 6 years. There's been complaints made. 6 years. Church members speaking out. I've heard the videos. I've watched them. I've listened to them. They've all said the same thing over and over. Different story, different family, but the same person, the same perpetrator, the same instigator. And it's Luke. And this day in question, where the altercation took place, Tony Spell, pastor, was just changing a battery out in one of the buses because they go and they bus in children and others into the church so they can learn about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, so they can worship as they please because of the freedom of religion in this country. And so they're doing this and worshiping, but so that can happen, Tony Spell is changing the battery out. While he's changing the battery out, allegedly, from what he says, and I have no reason to doubt him, that Luke is in his yard, along the roadside, screaming and yelling at him, telling him he is going to rape Shay, rape his grandchildren, and then the next time you're out of town, Tony, I'm going to kill your family, and what the F are you going to do about it? That's what was said. It's what allegedly was said based upon Tony Spell's. Now, when the family, when Scott, the dad, was approached by the police to get a statement from him as far as what his son was doing and what Luke was doing out by the road, his dad said he was checking on the grass. He was checking on the grass, quote, and, quote, minding his own business, unquote. Minding his own business, checking on the grass. Now, I don't know. The video I showed, he was near the road. I didn't see him examining any blades. I don't know what 20-year-old, what he knows about grass. Other than maybe he smokes a little bit, right? He may smoke a little bit of grass. Maybe that's what his dad was referring to. He was smoking grass and minding his own business. That's what I think he really meant to say. Because I don't think anybody that's not smoking grass can look at this and say he was minding his own business and just checking out the grass. Nobody can say that. And I would think if I was a liar like Scott, I could come up with something better. I could come up with a better lie than that. What a joke. Your son, 20 years of age, is not out there in his skinny jeans checking out the grass. He just got out of your basement from playing video games so he could go harass the pastor. That's what was going on. Was it checking out the grass? Kidding me. But that's a police report. That is in the police report. He was checking out the grass. Well, he's screaming vulgarities, threatening the pastor, threatening his wife, threatening his kids. In 6 years, the pastor had just had enough. So he was going to go across that street and he was going to confront him. Now, there's where some people say, oh, he escalated it. Maybe. I'll give you that. He escalated it. But when are we going to take threats seriously? When do we take threats seriously? And I'm asking a serious question. When do we? Do we take them seriously after they happen? After the offense, after the crime has been committed? Is that when we do it? Or do we take them seriously because I'm going to take you at your word? You're going to rape and kill my family. He went across that street to confront him. You're not going to talk like that. What is your problem? I don't know what he was planning on doing. He didn't come across with his fist drawn. He was walking across toward him, and you saw the little 20-year-old Luke dancing around, running back and forth on his phone, because that's the culture we're in. That's the generation that we're in. You could have 10 men kicking and beating up a woman, just beating the tar out of her, and this generation will have a phone to video it rather than getting involved in trying to stop it. We're just a video culture. We're going to video everything, and that's what he was doing. He was videoing, oh, here comes, just screaming like a little 20-year-old girl. That's what he was doing. Or 2-year-old girl, let me just say that way. Yeah. He was just yelling. So pastor comes across, his fists aren't drawn, his hands are to his side. He comes across the road, and Luke throws the first punch. Throws the first punch. Now again, those of you that say, oh, he escalated by walking across the street. At what point do we take a man seriously when he tells us he's going to kill our family and rape them? At what point do we take him seriously? You say, well, he's got to turn the other cheek. At what cheek? This one, what cheek do I have to turn? And what does that really mean in this context? I think they turned the cheek oftentimes when they've ignored and tried to overlook his threats, his racial slurs. Turning the other cheek is, someone's done me wrong. I'm not just going to go after him. I'll give him another chance. This guy's been given another chance. Luke has been given chance after chance after chance to correct it. But now it's escalated where he's threatening the life and threatening to rape my family. I'm going to go confront him. And I don't know of any red-blooded man that's worth his salt that would not go across that road and confront that individual. You threaten to rape my daughter or my wife? You threaten to kill them and my son? Do you think I'm just going to stand back there and say, please don't? No. I have a responsibility as a parent and as a father to protect and defend my family. And if you're going to threaten my family, there will be consequences. And I think most of Americans agree with me. I'm not looking for a fight. I would never look for a fight. I believe people should, as the scripture says, try to live peacefully. I think we should. I don't think we should be fighting and arguing and fussing and running around acting stupid. But it says try to live peacefully amongst, that's what scripture says. Attempt to live peacefully with others. But sometimes you can attempt and it's not done. And so then things happen. Walks across the street. Luke takes the first swing. And at that point, it was on. And I'm sure the adrenaline started flowing in Tony Spell's body. And all that frustration of 6 years of this kid running around checking out the grass has come to a head. And boom. Tony Spell's able to body slam him to the grass. And then he just starts, just pounding on him. Now, some would say, oh, he shouldn't have done that because reports already hit him like 35 times. 35 times. I'm going to give you a punch for every time you made a threat, every time you made a racial slur, every time you said you're going to do this. I'm just going to punch you. And he did. He just punched him 35 times. I watched it. I watched the whole video from the beginning then. I've seen it multiple times. And I'm watching thinking, wow, is he going to stop? Is he going to stop? I don't know. If you're threatening to kill my wife and kill my kids and it's the heat of the moment, I may just keep punching on you as well because I'm not going to give you the opportunity. I'm just going to stop you. That has to be what was going through his head. Has to be. So we have to then ask ourselves the question. Well, yes, it was escalated. He escalated by walking across the road. But when do we, as citizens of this country, feel that it's okay to stop a threat? We live as if the threat has to be done before we then do something about it. But I'm going to take you at your word. If you're going to do this to my family, I'm going to try and stop you. I'm going to try to get a point across. He goes across the street, and this is what happens. Again, you know who, let me just say it, you know who the guilty person is here? You say, oh, it's probably Luke, right? That's how I could tell. I could tell that that's the direction you're going. I think the guilty party is Scott Sherwin, the dad. You did a horrible job raising that son of yours. Horrible job. Do you really think for a second that anybody believes you when you lie and say that he was out checking out the grass, minding his own business? Everybody and their grandmother saw that video, and you that's the story you gave. Instead of your son telling your son to take personal responsibility, those 5 or 8 stitches, depending on who you read and listen after, that those stitches you got, Luke, is because you deserved them. You earned them. Shouldn't be threatening people. Shouldn't be stalking the pastor's wife or anybody. You shouldn't be threatening to rape and harm and bodily injury to people. You shouldn't be doing it. What you got is what you have coming. That's what the dad should have said. The dad should tell him, get out of the basement, go get a job, and begin living like a decent human being rather than dancing and prancing out on the edge of the street, in the road, in the grass, and yelling obscenities and videoing yourself and acting a fool. Horrible. You're guilty, Scott, for defending your son's hideous actions. You're guilty. You're guilty, Scott Sherwin. And Luke, you're guilty. Leave the church alone. Leave the pastor and his congregation alone. Leave them alone. Go get a life. Do something with your life that is productive. Be a productive part of society. You're 20 years of age. Got your whole life ahead of you. Do something right. Don't be threatening people. I don't care whether you believe the way they believe. I don't care whether you think that maybe they were putting you at harm or at risk during COVID. I don't care about that. This is on you. Screaming vulgarities and threats and obscene gestures to church members for years. And you don't think you've got this coming? I know the court and the hearing is in September over this incident. I hope to God that he's found innocent. I hope to God they do something to put an end to this. They had the FBI involved in putting surveillance, allegedly surveillance in the Sherwin's house and home to video and watch the actions of the church during COVID. You kidding me? We got people committing major crimes and you're watching to see whether a church is coming together to worship Jesus. But videoing. And Tony Spell won one case where he said the church was with their video, the church was being unlawfully targeted. And he won that. unlawfully targeted. And then all the times he was arrested during COVID, the Supreme Court came back. He was exonerated from it. I'm hoping we get the same outcome here, but I really hope that something is done with Luke. And that's what I want to appeal to. Those of you that may be watching this and you have a different opinion than mine, you don't feel like that merited what Tony Spell did, and that Tony Spell should be held to a higher standard because he is a pastor. He is a human being. You know, I'm a Christian first, a husband second, a father third, and then a pastor. Okay? I have to serve Christ first and foremost. But then I have to take care of my family secondly. And then I take care of my church family. That's Tony Spell. I guarantee that's his order. And I have to protect my family. So I'm a human being. And I have rights and I have responsibilities. I'm going to protect and defend my family. You're not going to threaten my wife. You're not going to stalk her. You're not going to threaten my grandchildren. You're not doing it. And just think you can do it day in and day out, year in and year out, and get by with it. And those of you that want to come down, oh, this is a terrible pastor. I don't know of too many, again, red-blooded men that love their wife and kids that would just stand back year after year after year, and do nothing. I just don't. I think at some point it comes to a head, and I think that's what happened at the end of June, that it just came to a head. He had had enough of it. He's just trying to change the battery. It's hot outside. He's just trying to get the bus ready for church and to be able to help bus people in that don't have, any way in transportation to get to the church, and just perform a civic duty or a ministry of helping the less fortunate and people that need to get to church. I'm guaranteed that church would welcome you in, Luke, Scott, if you want to get your hearts right with God and you want to give up the lifestyle that you're living and the way that you're conducting yourself. I guarantee he'll turn the other cheek for that. Absolutely. Promise you that. I think that's the broader issue here is in society, when we disagree with people, can we just agree to disagree and move on? Do we have to cancel each other? Do we have to threaten? Do we have to take side? Can we just agree to disagree? Just agree to disagree. Everything doesn't have to come to blows. But as the police report says, and as the police statement said, they just didn't see any real threats. That's why nothing was ever done. Well, now we have an altercation. So something's got to be done. But why can't we just be good citizens and good people? Good neighbors? Why can't we be? I don't, there's certain religions or denominations or churches, if I can say it that way, that I just don't agree with about anything they teach, anything they preach. But I can live peacefully with them beside me. They're not threatening me. They may knock on my door 10 times wanting to convert me. I'm okay with that. Maybe I can convert you. But we can agree to disagree on those matters, and hopefully I'm right, which I'm sure I am, and then what you are. But I'm not going to threaten you. I'm not going to give hand gestures and grab my crotch and scream vulgarities and cuss at you and racial slurs and threaten to rape and kill somebody. To me, it beyond the pale. I just don't understand how a dad can defend that and say, oh, he was just out, quote, checking the grass, unquote, and he was, quote, minding his own business, unquote. That's what his dad said. Family hasn't said much. There's not many statements out there from the family along this matter right now, as of right now anyway. But that's about all we got. Step up. Step up, Scott. Be a man. Teach your son. Teach your son to be a man, to be a good, decent human being. What he was showing was not decent. And that's the Friday verdict. July the 3rd, 2026, as we celebrate the 250th 50th year of the greatest nation in the world. Saturday, July the 4th. I hope your festivities are fun. I hope they are safe. But we live in the greatest country in the world where we're allowed to debate like this. We're allowed to debate. We're allowed to discuss and talk and enjoy the freedom of speech and the freedom of religion. And that's all that Tony Spell wanted. All right. Well, I want to thank my other sponsor, Brassfield Body Shop, downtown Dyersburg, Tennessee. If your body of your vehicle has dents and dings and needs some help, reach out to the Brassfields. Locally owned, has been in business, family owned, locally owned, over 54 years in business, state-of-the-art equipment, state-of-the-art facilities, and just great people. The Brassfields are good people, and they'll do a good job. They'll do you right. They'll treat you right. They'll make sure they get you taken care of. So reach out to the Brassfields if your car needs some attention, and let them know that the Friday Verdict sent you. And I promise you, you will not be disappointed. I think next Friday, maybe we'll throw one in before Friday. I'm debating it. We'll see. I'm going on vacation next week, so I don't know. But I think we're going to be talking about the WNBA here real soon. Crazy. That league, anyway, the president, those in charge, wackadoodles. That's my slogan, is we've got to stop the wackadoodles. Anyway, thank you for tuning in to the Friday Verdict. We release it every Friday, 5 a.m. for your Friday drive and your Friday Verdict. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, God bless you and God bless the United States of America.